some of these things like buttons. I want a button, I want a little bigger. I can start adding combo boxes, list box. I can start adding all these different things. And so if I don't do it now, nothing's going to happen. So if I go into Revit, I'm going to hit Revit on my application, nothing's going to happen at all until I go back into my code. And I come in here and I'm going to say dim new form show. I'm just making these up myself as new. What did I call that? My form. So now I've declared it. I can go ahead and say new form to show. And you show or show dialog. Real quick, it is actually a very important distinction between show and show dialog. In Revit, hit show, then it's going to show that form. That form's actually running in parallel to what Revit's doing, which sounds like a really great thing, except for most of the commands that you have to do in Revit, you actually have to use show dialog, which means that it's going to pause Revit while your form is running, and then that way it can finish whatever operations it's in. It's going to finish a transaction, and then all of those changes get pushed back into Revit, so that then it can process how those changes affect the other things in the model. So I'm going to go ahead and I have to hit build. So I'm going to build a solution. This solution is super exciting right now. What it's going to do is just show. And success. We got it to show a form. This form has no idea what Revit is. If I start typing in Revit stuff, it's not going to work until I start doing some of the other things I talked about. Now, for sake of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, and I have another one in there. Let's go ahead and open Macro Manager. RTC macro test. And we're going to edit this one. That way I don't have to type all this in front of you. All of this has already been uploaded, so you can already download this. I assume it's already available to you, but it's in Word document, and it's done in Word document on purpose, so it's very easy to copy and paste. So I hit edit, it's up over here. Notice in my main application, there's really not much difference in that the only thing that's different is I now am passing it an active document, which is going to give me access to all of the parameters, all of the data. And so what I wanted to do with this macro is to give you a lot of the basic tools. And again, this form right here is just as exciting as the last one. When I click that button, it's going to do something. And I'm going to run through the code real quick. What the purpose of this application does, what the code that I've given to you is going to do is it's going to allow you to filter elements by either what your selection is or the elements in your view. And then it's going to run an additional filter of category filter, so you can filter things by a certain category. Then you can tell it what parameter you want, and it's going to collect that parameter and export it to a text file. So a lot of little things in there that are very powerful if you put them together right. So you've got filtering in there, you've got selection sets, you've got parameter reading, and you've got exporting. And all of that is it's actually, the code is very short. If I scroll through here, there's the end right there. And so in a very short amount of time, you can see that you can do all that. Now, I've included a couple additional functions just below to give you a little bit more. These are sort of optional, but I'll tell you what those do. I wanted to give you a little bit more access to some things that will add some more power. So the different sections in this code, first all I do is I just declare a whole bunch of variable names of just the things that I want to set. No big deal there. Selection input. This is where you get to, as a user, so what I want you to do, I want you to go home, take this code, paste it in your application. I want you to first start here and start changing some of these variables. So I have, the first one says, oh, just use your selection without filter. So if I set this to true, what that's going to do, and let's go ahead and rebuild this, is it's going to take all of my selected items. So if I have all my selected items, it's then going to export its name and its parameter to a text file. I can set which parameter. In this case, I just chose mark just because everything has a mark value. And so that's the parameter that it's going to set. And so then just below the code starts with the category filter. So the first top of the code says, if I'm not filtering anything between all my selection, then I'm just going to add everything. And if else, I'm going to go ahead and run some of these filters. So I've got these filters here that are going to run. I've got a category filter, and then I say, okay, I want the name of the element. For country, I say, okay, I'm going to build a string to export, and then I'm going to export. So building a string gets the parameter, gets its value. So what I've done is I've got this get parameter value by name. That's actually what I'm calling down here, is the get parameter value by name. And this is the part where I want to give you something just a little bit extra, because Revit has something built in where you can just say, look up the parameter, and here's the name of the parameter I want, and it'll return it back. But I've given you a function that will iterate through every parameter, looking to see if this name matches that name. Maybe that's what you want, maybe that's not what you want, but what it allows you to do is then you can do additional checks on the parameter, so you can make it a little bit more powerful, say, I want every parameter that contains this, or I want to do more, checking of multiple parameters. So you have a little bit more of your iterators. I want to provide you both so that you can have that option. And then the very last function that's in there is just return parameter value. This is just converting any type of parameter value to a string. So whether it's a numeric value, whether it's whatever. The numeric value is important because the API actually has these weird internal units. Some of them are imperial units, some of them are just kind of weird what they've chosen to store data as inside of the API. And so it's very important that you use there's built-in functions. It wasn't always built in, but they have built-in functions where you can convert to your project unit. So when you're setting and getting units, it's always in the units that the project user is expecting to see. And so that code is provided for you as well. So let's just run this real quick. Let's go back into Revit. And actually, let's make a selection first. So I'll just select a whole bunch of randomness. And let's go ahead and run this. And so what I'm expecting to see when I click this button is a list of all of my elements and their mark values. So notice some of them have mark values, some of them don't. That's exactly what I expected. Now, let's go ahead and let's change that code. So this is what I'm hoping you're going to do once you get home. So I close this. What I want you to do is I want you to go back into this code and say, I wonder what happens when I start editing this code. And I'm going to change this from true to false. Right, here we go. And let's go ahead and rebuild this. And I'm going to click the same, actually I need to reload it here. So I got it run. Same selection set, but this time I'm only expecting the walls. And so it said I have 4 walls selected and those are their mark values. So it's exactly what I expected. So that's as far as I wanted to get in the actual macro demonstration. What I really wanted you to get from that is how easy it is to get started. Number 1, you just click I want a macro, I get started. Number 2, I've given you some code that you can just copy and paste in there and you can just get started right away. Since we're in here real quick, another powerful thing in the API is you can do things that people tell you are impossible. So if I am going to CS or create similar, so this is a junction box where it has a J in it, it's got text, and what happens is when you have text in a family, people say, oh, it really sucks in Revit because the text is never readable. It's going to have, sometimes it's upside down, sometimes it's on its side, and whatever else. Well, you can make it do whatever you want. You have the power to not eat that tofu bean sprout sandwich, and you get to have your own experience with the Revit interface. And so this is just an example. I just placed 4 junction boxes on 4 separate walls, and it automatically computed what angle am I on the wall? Okay, rotate the text to match. And so just little things like that, or things where I've got an electrical diagram here, and I've got this panel. If I click on this panel, it's a detail item, and I have the same panel here on my floor plan. Well, if you know anything about Revit, you know that there are 2 separate elements, and when I change one, it doesn't change the other because Revit doesn't link them very well. But again, you have the power to change your own interface. So if I change this and I just put the room name in there, so if I'm moving it from one room to another, I'm moving the actual 3D element. And what I just told it, I said, when I change this thing, I want to monitor for changes. I want to monitor for changes of the thing.